Hi, and welcome to Michigan Matters. The clock continues to tick in Lansing with only days before a statewide government shutdown takes place if a compromise on the budget isn't reached. So what's the latest? We'll talk to House Speaker Matt Hall, who's here to give us an update. Plus, regional transit is changing in Metro Detroit. We're going to check in with three leaders about it. It's an action-packed show about things that impact you and your community. Let's get started.
From CBS Detroit, this is Michigan Matters with Carol Kane. Michigan Matters is brought to you in part by Henry Ford Health.
And we're so pleased to welcome Matt Hall, a Republican from the west side of the state, who is the state speaker of the House. It's so great to finally have you with me. We've been talking about this, I don't know, for more than a minute. It's gone on for months and months, so thank you so much for taking time.
Yeah, great to be on with you.
Well, how are things going up there before we dive in and get into the thick of it all?
Well, I think everyone's negotiating tough for their constituencies. You know, Republicans, we're fighting for the taxpayers. We're trying to get better value for your tax dollars, eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse. And largely what we're seeing Democrats fighting for are the bureaucracies, the pork projects, and the waste, fraud, and abuse. And so, both sides are fighting hard for their constituencies, and we're starting to get a little closer to a deal.
Well, let's start with what I am sure you can appreciate is frustrating so many people across Michigan, and that's the inability of both parties to work collaboratively on behalf of the state and work something out. Many have called last year's budget, year-end budget conversation the worst that had happened, and this year's is shaping up to be even worse. What do you say? What is going on in Lansing right now?
Well, last year, Democrats controlled all parts of state government, and they didn't work together very well. They're a very fractured Democrat party. You have Democrats like Gretchen Whitmer, the governor, who are trying to lead the Democrat Party in a more moderate direction of working with President Trump now. And then you have other Democrat leaders, like Ranji Puri, who's the House Minority Leader, who wants to lead the Democrat Party in a direction of we lost because we weren't far left enough. And so it's a very splintered Democrat Party. Last term, the Speaker of the House was Joe Tate. He dealt with a very fractured group. And it was interesting. Democrats controlled everything, but yet when they got past the immediate, we need to repeal everything the Republicans did, and it came time to actually come up with their own plans, it all fell apart. And we saw that at the end of the last session where the lame duck session ended with very little getting done among Democrat dysfunction. So now the Republicans have been elected to lead the House. And the reason for that is the voters saw that the spending was out of control under Gretchen Whitmer and the Democrats, and they wanted a check and balance in there to kind of bring more balance to state government. We're still dealing with the same factions and problems with the Democrat Party. I'm choosing to engage primarily with Governor Whitmer because I think that Governor Whitmer is the leader of the Democrat Party. And I'm hopeful that she can corral enough Democrats across the line for a deal where both sides make compromises.
Yeah, so when you look at the polling, two things are pretty obvious here, and that is education is important, particularly K through 12. Schools are petrified right now by this potential budget shutdown coming up here. They've got a payment due in October. Shouldn't that be an incentive of something to help propel to work towards a deal for you and Governor and the Democrats, everybody to come together and get a deal?
Yeah, so, there's a statutory deadline, and then there's the day the government shuts down. And years ago, the politicians set a statutory deadline of July 1 to get a school budget done. So we avoided this problem of going right up to the line of the money running out. We had a House budget done. The Senate had a Senate budget done in June. We tried to negotiate to get that deal done in July 1. And the Democrats walked away from those negotiations. at the time, Mayor Duggan came out and said, you know, if the politicians don't get their budget done on time, then they shouldn't get paid.
Well,
And I thought,
yeah,
yep.
I'm sorry, go ahead quickly on that.
So I thought about that and I said, you know, that's a good idea. So I put that up for a vote. And the Democrats killed that too. So they want to get their paycheck, but they don't want to get the job done.
Well, and Mayor Duggan, it should be noted, said that as part of, if he's elected governor, he's running as independent here. When was the last time that you talked to Senate Majority Leader Brinks on the budget impasse currently? When was the last conversation you specifically had with her, and how did that go?
I talked to her quite a bit. She came and met with me last week, I think it was Friday. So we met, we talked in detail. And I talked to her quite frequently. Actually, I talked to her over the weekend too, I think on Saturday or Sunday. So we talked quite a bit.
And what's your message to her?
To empower Gretchen Whitmer to make a deal. But I also think that, you know, I want to hear what she cares about too, right? I mean, there's a reason they call it the triangle with the House Speaker, the governor, and the Senate Majority Leader. And so, you know, I want to understand where she's coming from. I want to try to understand her priorities. One of the challenges in making a deal, I think Gretchen Whitmer has been very clear in her priorities, fixing roads. The Republicans have been very clear in our priorities in fixing roads and eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse. What's been very hard with the legislative Democrats is they have no roads plan, and they've passed a proposal that spends billions of dollars more than we have. And so trying to get them to kind of pare through this and say, you know, we must do a balanced budget. What do you care about the most? What are your priorities? They have a hard time picking and choosing.
All right. I hate to say this, but I'm going to have to put a bow tie in it for the moment here. We got to take a quick break. Hold that thought a second. We'll come back. We'll take a quick break and be back with more Michigan Matters after this. And welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're talking with House Speaker Matt Hall about the budget impasse in Lansing right now and the possibility of a shutdown at the end of the month and everything going on behind the scenes here. So, Mr. Speaker, let's talk just real quickly about infrastructure, which is part of the budget conversation here. I heard an interesting conversation with Joe LaRussa, the mayor of Farmington Hills, who was at Duggan's event at Michigan Central Station, where he had lots of community and political leaders supporting him, and talked about infrastructure and the fact that apart from water and wastewater, that it should be part of infrastructure, roads, it should all be inclusive in one thing, and that it currently isn't. Where do you stand on that, about including water, wastewater into this infrastructure conversation, which again is critical? It's worth billions of dollars, we know this, but that particular portion.
Yeah, and since Gretchen Whitmer has become governor, spending has increased 43%. I've gone line by line in the budget, and what I realized is we had the funding all along to fix the roads and infrastructure, but instead the money was spent to grow state departments. So, for example, the environmental department, Eagle, has gone up 106% since Governor Whitmer became governor. The labor department has increased 92%, and there are many others like that. And we're not getting better customer service out of these departments. So what we propose is eliminating the waste, fraud, and abuse in state government. We found 4,300 ghost employees that are costing the taxpayers $750 million a year. Instead, we could put that money into roads and infrastructure. And I agree with your mayor that, you know, sewer and water infrastructure are bigger priorities than a lot of these wasteful grant programs we're looking at. You know, there was a barbershop quartet here protesting me. There's barbershop quartets all over Michigan that are getting hundreds of thousands of dollars of your tax dollars, but the Farmington Hills mayor can't get his infrastructure. That's not the way it should work. We need to set priorities in government, and that's what I'm pushing on the Democrats to do. It should be roads, public safety, and education. And Governor Whitmer said very similar in her speech the other day.
Right, and I know the governor did give a speech where she talked about a variety of things with Trump, Washington. We'll leave that alone here, but specifically called on the two sides to come to a resolve here on the budget impasse because the shutdown looms here. How optimistic do you feel that there will be some sort of a deal reached between now and the end of the month?
We're running out of time. Both sides are negotiating very tough. And I'm hopeful we can get a deal done, but it's really going to require the Democrats to set priorities, to unify and empower Gretchen Whitmer to lead them. And also, I would just say they're going to have to cut some waste, fraud, and abuse in government. I'm willing to listen to their ideas, but they have to be willing to do that.
Mr. Speaker, isn't this, I'm sorry to interrupt, but isn't this, when you have negotiations, it's both sides talking together? Isn't this incumbent upon you as the leader to have the conversations, find something that everybody can live with? Everybody's not going to win everything. There'll be people giving up stuff on both sides of the aisle. We know that. The last time the government shut down, 2009 for a few hours, same thing, 2007. But at this point, do you think there's going to be a resolve by the end of the month on this? Will there be a deal, or will we have a shutdown?
In order to get a deal, the Democrats are going to have to accept that there's waste, fraud, and abuse in the budget. When I talk to them now, they struggle with that. And I'm willing to listen to their ideas, but they've got to give too. And so far, we're not seeing the acknowledgement that there's waste, fraud, and abuse, and a willingness to make some cuts.
And right now you have over 10 million Michiganders kind of stuck in the middle of what's going on here in the fray of all of this as this continues to be negotiated. If the shutdown occurs, how do you see it rolling out? Where will it be immediate impact be felt if the government shuts down?
Well, I'm hopeful that regardless of what happens, that we can resolve the school issue early and before there's a shutdown, if there is one. We were very close to a deal in July when the Democrats walked away. Both sides, Republican and Democrat, want to put record money into schools. There's just a little disagreement on how much discretion we want to give the districts rather than the Lansing politicians. I want to give the districts more say. The Democrats want the lobbyists and the Lansing politicians to have more say. We'll be able to resolve that. So I'm hopeful the schools get done. In terms of some of these departments, we put forward a government shutdown prevention plan earlier this year because I'm fearful that the Democrats and the governor will use our local governments, our state police, our corrections workers, our teachers, as pawns in a political shutdown game.
And I hate to say this, Mr. Speaker, but we are out of time here. I really appreciate you talking with us today about this. Look forward to having you back maybe after this is resolved in studio and we talk further about some other issues too. But again, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, take good care. We're back with more Michigan Matters after a quick timeout. Welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're in studio now and changing gears with the roundtable talking about transit with three folks who live and breathe it as few others across the state. We're starting off here with Ben Stupka, who is the Executive Director of RTA, the Regional Transit Authority of Southeast Michigan. In the middle is Tiffany Gunter, who is the General Manager of SMART, the Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation. And to my right, Robert Kramer, who has more titles than Dones has pills, but he is the Executive Director of Transit Detroit, which includes Detroit Department of Transportation, DDOT, People Mover, and a bunch of other things. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Great to be here.
We have been talking about doing this for I don't know how long, and I'm so glad we're finally able to make this all happen here. But before we begin, Tiffany, congrats. You just got the new promotion here. And so when did you start? And just in a nutshell, what is the job?
So I was appointed on July 25th as the General Manager of SMART Transportation. I've been there for just over 3 years, but I've been in public service for over 21 years at this point now. SMART is the regional transit provider. We serve Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties, over 2,100 square service miles every day with as reliable as we can with service. And we connect them with DDOT and work closely with RTA to provide good quality service to us.
So Ben, Metro Detroit's transit systems, which we're hearing about, you guys pretty much control how this all goes with the Q line, DDOT, People Mover, SMART. Tell me a little bit your role, how you fit in with this.
So the Regional Transit Authority covers a 4-county region, so we cover all of Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, and Washtenaw County. So actually also includes the Ride in Ann Arbor. We work with all of our major providers represented here. We also own and operate the Q-Line streetcar, and we provide the D2A2 Express bus and the DAX Express bus, which serves the airport. We also work with several community providers, dozens of local community providers, and provide them funding and support.
And Robert, this is the first time I've seen you from a couple weeks back where there was the announcement about the new People Mover near the Huntington Place Hotel that's coming to life, and a bunch of changes going on there. So tell me a little bit about your role. And in fact, you have a promotion too, right, with this, a name title change a little bit?
Yes, I'm executive director for transit for the city of Detroit, which includes both DDOT, which is the city bus and paratransit, and then also the People Mover downtown. So we provide fixed route service primarily in the city of Detroit and kind of adjacent communities, and paratransit service as well. But as you see, the name of the game here is connectivity, and we know riders use all of our systems kind of interchangeably, so we got to work together.
So amongst the three of you, who's been in their job the longest right now?
Oh, I guess Ben, probably.
I think.
Ben, you get the question.
Yeah.
That's curious. I'm curious all your thoughts about this. We hear so much about public transit, how important it is for millennials, young people who want to have more of it than what we currently offer, and they look at other cities that have more of it. How do you think we're doing right now as a region in offering mass/public transportation?
I think we're the future's bright, and we're doing really well. I'm thankful to work with great colleagues here and with other agencies to provide all kinds of different types of services, whether they be our fixed route buses, our flexible transit services, new things like express buses. We're introducing new service styles. We're being innovative. We're being responsive to the moment. So I think we're moving in a good direction. We're seeing some ridership increases, so that's great. We have more work to do, and that's what we all stay up all day and night trying to do.
Well, the other thing too is raising awareness about what's offered. I know there's some people who already know this and avail themselves of the public service or the public transportation that we have here. But for someone who's maybe new to the region or interested in finding out more, what would you recommend someone do to find out buses and DAX, the Detroit Air Express, other things here? What kinds of things would you suggest for folks?
I would suggest go to our transit app. We have, it's online. You can download the app and try the system. Make a day of it. Hop on, use token transit. You can get your pay your fare there, or you can just get on and pay your fare directly. We encourage people to try the system, and it's not just for fixed route only. What I would encourage people to understand is we also, within 3/4 of a mile of every route, we offer paratransit service. So people with disabilities, they are not excluded from this. They can call, set up a ride, and we will come to their door and pick them up.
That's such an important thing for the community, too. And Robert, the People Mover, which has been, there's so many adjectives I could use.
Great,
but
fantastic.
Yes, all those things.
That was on the list. I'm not sure it would be the top, but it would be somewhere there. Curious, in your role now with the People Mover, how do you see that fitting in with what's being offered downtown?
Yeah, I think it's really important, and really all the transit kind of feeds into downtown one way or another. So it's really important for the People Mover to help kind of add value, amplify. You mentioned the station renaming over by the hotel, which is next to a new apartment building, which is down the street from the Ralph Wilson Centennial Park. So there's so many things that have changed since the system was designed in the 70s, built in the 80s, and had all these changes. And now downtown has really grown into a neighborhood. And so having the People Mover to have, really connect people, connect the visitors, and all the great things that happen downtown is great, but then also staying focused on how can that connect to all the other transit that feeds in too.
And I know you're all in the process of looking at how to better serve the community, and you're having different meetings open to the public for coming in. Public's pretty vocal about what they want, right? Is that what you've seen here? And I know you have a series of meetings coming up, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So they want more. I think that's
they want more.
More meetings.
So what they really want is they want more frequency. They want more reliability.
Yep.
They don't want to be dependent on the schedule. They want to know that they can walk up to the station, the stop, and get on within the next 10 to 15 minutes. So that is what we strive for. But as you know, funding is scarce, and as I will stop there.
Great. You know what? That's a perfect bow tie for this segment, because we're going to pick up there. We talked to Matt Hall, State Speaker, about the budget, what's going on in Lansing. So we're going to come back to that. But first, we're going to pay a few bills. We'll be back with more Michigan Matters. Hi, and welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're talking with Ben Stupka, Tiffany Gunter, and Robert Kramer about transit. And Tiffany, before we went to break, you were talking about transit, the budget. We know there's lots of conversations. Everyone would like more money, but when it comes specifically to transit, what's your message to Lansing leaders about all this?
You know, we're grateful that we're actually in everyone's budget at this point in time. What we are concerned about is that we want to make sure that as they're creating caveats, and we know they want efficiencies, is that they understand that we are providing significant local share. With our property tax millage, we're 64% of the budget at SMART. And if we are looking at what the potential cuts could be, we could lose up to $9 million and have to cut service.
Well, I mean, that's the wrong direction, I know, for people who need that service, certainly here. And Ben, when it comes to service, for example, to Detroit Airport, you have the DAC service, which it picks up downtown, goes to the airport. How is that going? Because that's, what, about a year or so it's been up and going?
Yeah, it's about a year and a half. It was March of 2024 when we launched it. It's going really well. Ridership increases every single month. You can pick the service up right at Washington, Michigan, right by the Western Hotel. It takes you to McNamara, takes you to Evans Terminal. It's going great.
Yeah, I passed one of those buses, by the way, at the airport. It was totally full. Looked like business people. Everybody was dressed in suits.
Next time you're going to try and ride one.
That's it. I may do this. Thank you for driving here. So, Robert, when it comes to the Q Line People Mover, those are now free, right? The ride on it. In fact, you have a sponsor for the Q Line, right?
For the People Mover, yeah, we have, so Priority Waste is a presenting sponsor, and that's a partnership that we came up with to help remove that barrier of people having to use some of our fair equipment. And it's really, last year we had almost 100% increase in ridership month over month, and it's really just encouraged more people to ride. People I bump into that actually are riding it just to ride it. There's no destination.
Well, it is cool. Yeah,
it's a great view, and it really helps you get your bearings downtown and connect.
So when the 2024 NFL Draft was here, and lots of people, 800,000 people were here, I'm going to imagine more people took public transit than any other time. Did it help with ridership and things like that now?
Absolutely. We've seen some increases in ridership since then. We carried over 30,000 people that weekend for the NFL Draft. It was incredible. And it showed people that transit is a real option. We're connected to over 550,000 jobs within a quarter mile of our services.
So, Ben, when it comes to regional transit, how do you describe where Detroit's at right now versus, say, 5 or 10 years ago? What's the trajectory that we're on?
I think we're on a very positive path forward. We have great partners in this region, folks I've worked with for decade plus now, amazingly, all in positions to be able to affect change. Taking that true Detroit spirit, being innovative, trying new things, trying new partnerships. There's still a lot of work to go. There's still funding to be had and funding to be received. But we're on a really good path forward to success.
Well, since most of the population of the state is congregated around Metro Detroit, and Detroit, in fact, how do you see, where are the needs? If I were to say to you, what's the one area you think we could be doing better in helping? Is it with helping people who need assistance getting around, people living with disabilities, this type of thing? Where is the greatest need right now?
Well, I think that really, all of us with our different operating functions working together and just pushing more service and making sure it's safe and reliable. But really, as you mentioned, shifting to, I know all of us have seen increases in the ridership for paratransit, which is for individuals that may have a condition where they can't take fixed route bus. And so, 25, 30% between DDOT and SMART and the partners that RTA supports is really providing more and more of that essential service.
What's the one thing you hope, we got about 10 seconds here, that the three of you are able to accomplish over the next year when it comes to getting things done? What's the one thing?
Better coordinated paratransit, I would say.
A one-seat ride for our seniors and people with disabilities.
I'd say one app for everybody to use in the region.
All right.
There you go. Okay, the hands. I mean, it's all here. We've done it again. I'm telling you, technology is where it's at here, folks. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. We'll do this again. Okay. Thanks, Eat Home, for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you next Sunday for a little bit more Michigan Matters.